All right, friends, we're back with another Blaha video. So we're going to react to the gym, lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slaves video. Blaha says in this video, modern bodybuilding is a death cult, not a sport. What? You mean fake bodybuilding? Okay. Again, I don't know why they call these people performing on a stage bodybuilders. They're not bodybuilding, they're drug building.
Modern bodybuilding is basically a death cult. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blah here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals about this today. This is something I used to discuss years ago, and it's something that I think we have to talk about again. I used to make a lot of videos on this way back in the day, 11, 12 years ago.
Way back in the day, okay.
I actually predicted the unfortunate demise of a number of serious bodybuilders ahead of time, 6 months, a year ahead of time. And people were like, wow, it's scary how often you called them. And, this is where I'm going to have to agree with guys like Scooby, who used to say professional bodybuilding is basically a contest to see who can take the most drugs.
Professional bodybuilding? Bodybuilding is not a profession. It's not a sport or a profession. It compromises sportive performance. What are you talking about? Are you talking about drug building? Drug addicts? People that go on stage? That's not bodybuilding. They could call it that. I don't know why they call it bodybuilding. Taking drugs has nothing to do with bodybuilding. Taking drugs.
Without dying. And we see all these health issues around it, and it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I'm just not going to.
Some guy in a powerlifting competition, all these people lifting weights, they're all on drugs, taking drugs, and then they're trying to convince you that they're strong because because they can lift a heavy weight because they took drugs. Well, that has nothing to do with anything that they built because they took drugs to lift a heavy weight. So, yeah, I don't know what would you call that? Drug building sport? I don't know, man. Whatever.
Supported. And I think it's saddening because a lot of us who grew up, we saw a different era. I mean, I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm a strength athlete, but I am working on my physique more. But, even then, I'm not in.
Look, one of the reasons why I moved for damaging my body and building it and eating so much food was because I didn't have access to drugs, man. Maybe at that time, maybe if I had access, maybe I would have taken them. Who knows? But it's a good thing I did it. See, here's the thing. It's a good thing I didn't have access. It's a good thing I never took drugs because I would have never discovered what built my body or what builds bodies. You understand me? So, yeah, I would have never discovered it. Would have never known. And that's another thing. You see, because of that, I was very stubborn. And because of that, I discovered it. Yeah. I was lucky. I don't know. A lot of people, they're not so lucky. They're very unlucky. They're 30 years, 35 years later, 40 years later, they're like Blaha, still there trying to get strong. They're not strong. They're weak because they're small. They never got strong.
Inspired by anything I see, even in the men's physique divisions or the classic bodybuilding. It's not what any of us from my generation growing up saw as even bodybuilders. We saw the silver era, the golden era, everything from
silver era, golden era. What's that? Like the silver drugs and gold drugs? What's the difference? Oh, they had better drugs at different eras. Okay, they took better drugs. Yeah, more drugs.
Steve Reeves up to Reg Park, those were ideals. And then
so they had the soft drugs, right? The silver era, and then in the golden era they got the super drugs. Is that it? The super draw, yeah.
Then later up into the 70s, guys like Arnold and Franco and and so on, and Frank Zane. But even then,
they started taking D-ball. Is that it? They got D-ball, yeah.
Those guys were obviously on stuff, but the physiques were just so much more obtainable, and they looked good, and people were fit and athletic.
I love this one. The physiques were so much more obtainable. What are you talking about? They're all obtainable taking the drugs. Taking those drugs, all those physiques are all obtainable. Yeah. Those fake, phony, so-called phony, fake physiques.
Athletic. And I'm not saying some of them haven't had their set of health problems, but a lot of them live to be, to an old age, right? And can we say that for any of this crop of bodybuilders? And I've seen a lot of discussion from that. I've seen Arnold be critical of what they're seeing now. I've seen Lee Haney, who was one of the greats. They're critical of what they're seeing now. and it seems like they're not rewarding health or anything else. And it's the even in the lighter division. So here's one.
Lee Haney is another fake guy, fake whatever.
I'm going to say men's physique type divisions. It's not only the unhealthy levels of body fat they want to, it's stuff like the excessive delts, the excessive side enhancement in the delts, and I'm seeing tons of that, to where it's not even necessarily muscle there, right? So you're seeing in those guys, because the guys are using tons of stuff higher up, are using so much stuff that their delts are massive. I saw Ken Waller in an interview saying, well, they look like a water buffalo. So the way he described it, he was, in Pumping Iron, one of the greats back in the day. He kind of said that, but then because that aesthetic is now being pushed, you're even seeing these smaller, lighter guys who in theory shouldn't have these issues, huge amounts of side enhancement in their shoulders, their delts are...
What exactly are we talking about here? How to use drugs? How to create a drug body, a drug addict body? Go figure. Blaha, man, his channel, such a phony channel, bro.
Full of oil and scar tissue from all the stuff they're putting in there. So you see all this stuff.
I'm telling you, all the scar tissue, all the stuff they're putting in there. Is this bodybuilding? Scar tissue, all the stuff they're putting in there, all the stuff they're injecting in there, this, that. Doesn't sound like bodybuilding to me. Sounds like drug building.
But then we see the health complications. We see the men and the women both dying.
Health complications? Dying? Why would you die and have health complications? I thought exercise and lifting weights was healthy for you. What's going on here?
All the time. It's getting really common.
It is?
From the diuretic use. And
yeah,
I think
but Blaha says that all this stuff protects you from diabetes and these diseases and everything, lifting. Now he's telling you it's unhealthy, makes you sick, you're going to die and shit. What?
That's another thing, too. They want them so dry and so shredded today, even in some of the natural bodybuilding, that, you're...
So dry and so shredded? Natural bodybuilding? Why do you have to call it natural? What does that mean, natural? What does natural bodybuilding mean? What does that mean? Drug addict? So here's the thing. You call people that take drugs, you call that bodybuilding. And then you call people that are not on drugs, you call that natural bodybuilding. So that should be called drug building, right? Drug building. Yeah. Drug addict building and natural bodybuilding. Drug addict bodybuilding and natural bodybuilding.
We're seeing this diuretic abuse, and so we're seeing people have heart attacks from it.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing people damage their kidneys from it.
Heart attacks, damaging their kidney. I thought kidneys, man, I thought lifting was healthy. Blaha keeps saying it's healthy for you.
I've even seen some serious bodybuilders are like, the other stuff can be bad enough, but the diuretics might actually be the deadliest thing. Because they want them so...
Diuretics, man? What's all these drugs? I thought they were bodybuilding. Why do they need all these diuretics, all these weird drugs?
So shredded. And how much are we seeing the same thing just due to bodybuilding carrying over to influencers and stuff? That trickles into that. How many of them are like, oh man, I have to look a certain way when I'm shirtless on the camera, so they're...
This is really sad, you know that? This is sad.
Unless they're perfect and dialed in and dry, they don't even want to be shirtless, and then they're doing diuretics and stuff, a little editing for the photo shoots instead of presenting and saying, why aren't we presenting something that's obtainable? In other words, I'm not saying, that they should just look like the average Joe, even in that context for the influencers and people, but, more of, hey, why don't we, present something that can be sustainable? Right? And I almost feel like because the bodybuilding world has taken it that extreme, even people now online who put out fitness content, I mean, my God, if any of them were at my current body fat or whatever, they'd be terrified to be shirtless. And...
Half the people putting out fitness content is fake. It's fake.
But the reality is a lot of them are there 50% of the year already.
Okay.
And yet a lot of them feel like they have to have a diuretic or whatever just to have their shirt off because of that other image. And it's like the question we have to ask even for that is, why are we putting up with that? Why is that becoming our norm to where it has to be unobtainable? Right? Why
is that our norm to be unobtainable? All of these, the diseases, and you damaging your kidneys and your liver and injecting weird things in you and getting fibrotic and whatever the hell he's talking about, it's all obtainable when you start taking what they're doing. What they're doing, you'll have all those things. They'll be all obtainable. The toxicity, you dying younger, you aging, getting an aged face, an aged body by taking these drugs. They're all obtainable. All of the side effects and all these weird things and whatever they're doing there, it's all obtainable when you take the drugs. Yes. All of it, yes.
You have to be at an unobtainable level that literally is harming your health every time you
Unobtainable. It's very obtainable. All these things are obtainable once you're on the drugs.
want to appear shirtless where you're having to take a diuretic. Come on, guys. But then we see the girls too. How many of them are losing their lives? We're seeing some of these young women are passing away at the contest or the day of
We're seeing young women pass away at the contest. What kind of contest is that then? Maybe they should call that the pass away contest, the death contest.
Competition or the day after with
what kind of competition promotes people dying? I don't understand this. I'm really confused. Can somebody explain this to me, man? I thought they used to promote things on TV. They used to just say no. They go, drugs, just say no, right? Wasn't that the commercial on TV back in the day? Just say no.
Diuretic stuff and causing heart attacks. But then so we look at all
causing heart attacks and what? Oh, jeez.
That leanness is crazy. The amount of side enhancement they allow is crazy. But then if we're going to talk about physique culture, remember
the side enhancements, the this, the that. When is he going to talk about real bodybuilding ever? What builds muscle? What builds your body? What builds muscle? What makes you healthy? What you should be eating? The real stuff. At least in my channel, I tell you about eating healthy food. I tell you about real bodybuilding. I don't tell you about drugs and injecting all day and magic pills and magic beans and all that. And, in hopes that you're going to get this and that. I'm actually really trying to, in my channel, to tell you the truth, I really am trying to promote real bodybuilding because it's healthy, because I know it's healthier for you. And I know that eccentric exercise is healthier than concentric lifting. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that concentric lifting is bad or, it's better than eccentric or concentric is better than eccentric or eccentric is better than concentric. I'm saying eccentric is superior if you're looking for gains and muscular gains and strength. Why? Because all the load is there in the eccentric. It's again, I'll use this analogy, okay? What's the quickest way to get to Cancun? Flying or taking a bicycle? Which one would you take, the bicycle or take the airplane? Well, obviously the airplane will get you there the quickest. So it would be superior to take the airplane as opposed to the bicycle. Now, you'll still reach your destination with the bicycle. You'll still get to Cancun if you take a bike there, right? The problem is it'll take you an astronomically long time to get to Cancun on that bicycle. By the time you get there, I would have already had my vacation, gone back home, and I'm busy already with other things.
Used to be well-rounded, right? Everyone was well-rounded back in the day. They were all athletes.
Yeah.
They, again, same thing.
They were all well-rounded. They were all athletes. I don't consider people, drug addicts, as athletes. They're not athletes to me.
Have scored.
That's why they're disgruntled with fucking the Olympics. They're not really liking it anymore, okay? Because it's drugs.
Them down for a bunch of side enhancement, and they don't now. You're even seeing it in the physique divisions for men. Their shoulders are full of stuff, tons of them. Like almost every one of them I see.
The physique divisions, they're full of, yeah. So what? They're injecting extra shit in their shoulders, whatever. It's drugs. It's not a sport.
And it's like if they scored that down, that would resolve a lot of issues because then the guys would have to use less time.
Look, even Blaha has changed the way he exercises now. He does more full range of motion. He's added the eccentric instead of just doing concentric lifting because he probably realized, and all the stuff that I put in my community section, it points to if you keep lifting concentrically, it's adapting by causing the muscle to shorten. So there's a loss in series. you're actually shrinking your muscle, but you're getting better at lifting concentrically. Look, when I put up that video about what's his name, El Campion, it's not I hate El Campion. I actually like the guy. I like comedy, bro. I used to do on my old channel, people took my videos too seriously. They don't understand. I was making comedy videos, bro. I used to joke in the market, show my bicep. I make these jokes. I do these funny lifts in the gym. I would record them. But people think that those lifts were real. They were fake, bro. Get it? They were fake. They were just for entertainment purposes. The half reps or whatever, the squat, this, that. And me making jokes and then showing my arms. But people, they just take things too seriously. That's why I like El Campion. El Campion, he does these comedy lifts. But at the same time, it is comedy. But at the same time, he really is taking it seriously. Because if you look at him, bro, this guy could deadlift over 315 or whatever. I don't know. Maybe 350 or something. He is pulling. He is in his pulling abilities. He's got good pulling abilities. Now, as far as push, he's kind of not so good at pushing weight. But he's good at pulling a lot of weight, for sure. Now, does he have to go all the way for full reps? No, with those heavy weights, he's never going to manage them eccentrically because it's something you have to build on. You have to build to get there eccentrically, to get to that point where the weights and the contractile proteins can actually push or pull weight without effort put in. But he's got to constantly put effort, and he has to enslave himself to being good at lifting concentrically in the gym consistently, like Blaha. Blaha is a consistent lifting concentric slave, because when it comes to concentric lifting, you have to maintain it by going to the gym often, and gym owners, they like that. They don't want to promote eccentric exercise. They don't want you to build muscle, because then they realize you will never come back to the gym because you got strong. You lifted eccentrically, you built your body, it got stronger, and now you don't need to lift no more. But they want you to keep lifting forever and ever.
Because they don't have unlimited injection sites. Since they can't put it everywhere where you can see it, that would cut it down. How about they require a vacuum pose again on everything, right? A lot of this stuff in the earlier days of the physique stuff and the bodybuilding type things, they had to do certain displays of athleticism. None of these guys, most of them are not athletic anymore. They're not healthy. And I'm not saying powerlifting doesn't need work there too. So we're not even talking about my sport that I'm coming from. That's its own video.
Yeah, where's the sport? Where are you coming from, Blaha? Where?
But I think we can make some there. So again, for anyone who says, casting stones here, no, there's issues that need.
Look, I'll explain this 3 level of damage to muscle fibers, okay? These are the 3 levels. So you have concentric, you have full range of motion, and you have eccentric. Now there will be 3 levels of muscle damage in your muscle. Now, concentric, it'll be very minute. If you lift a lot concentrically, I'm not saying that you will not get some damage. You will get damage in your muscle fibers, but it will be so minute that the muscle will simply repair and patch it. Now, let's move on to the 3rd one. Full range of motion. So you have the concentric and now you have the eccentric connected to it. Okay. Can you get damage lifting in a full range of motion? Yes. Does it adapt rapidly? Yes. But here's the thing. Now that it's adapted, and you may do a little bit more of something, whatever, lifting in full range of motion. But guess what? Still, the damage is not enough, and so it will just repair without our remodeling. There will be no remodeling as well, and so that's why it takes you forever to get big there, lifting in a full range of motion, because occasionally you may do something you're unaccustomed to, and you may get some of this damage to come back. You may get slightly more damage than usual, where it may go through a remodeling. And that's why it's going to take you 40 years to get to wherever it is you're fucking going. Now, then there's eccentric exercise. Bam. The pinnacle of muscle damage and growth. You always get damage lifting eccentrically, and you will always build muscle there. See what I mean? There's always a remodeling there because the damage is so high that it is forced to remodel. And you can lift heavier in the eccentric than you could in the concentric or full range of motion. Okay? It's kind of obvious on the face of it. There you go. There's the explanation.
Be addressed there too. But we come over with this thing in bodybuilding and they're dropping dead. It's not just the anabolics, it's all the insulin, all the IGF-1, all the other crazy stuff that they've added on top of ridiculous amounts of anabolics. You know, and I think the only way that's going to change is when people who are following fitness call for it to change. When they demand it, they quit following that. And they start saying, hey, maybe we want to see stuff like this silver era or golden era. And they follow that. And they quit following the freak show.
See, silver era, golden era, the freak show. It is a freak show. What are you talking about? It's fake show. It's a fake show.
That's the only way it changes because as of right now, it's a death cult and they're dying. And people have been saying this for over.
It's not a death cult. It's a drug cult. It's a drug cult. And if you can't really understand that, there's something wrong. It's a death cult.
Just now, people were saying it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. We're dying for this.
Sure, yeah.
And the bodybuilders were saying that in little anonymous interviews from there, like, yeah, this was a pro bodybuilder talking to us. He was, you know, at the Olympia contender. And he says, you know, we're dying for this.
Sure, yeah.
We're dying for it. And that was 20 years ago.
You are dying for it.
My God, how much worse is it now? You know, and it's not bodybuilding anymore.
Because you're slaves. You're dying for it. You're entertaining the people that are out there. They're being entertained by you. And you're the slave. And they leech off of you. You understand me? You're a slave.
Or it's not aesthetic, it's not attractive, it's become hideous. It's a freak show.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you think gladiators were? They were the entertainment for the rich people. They entertained them. They were the slaves. The rich people, they weren't stupid. You understand me? They sat back and watched people destroy themselves.
It's a circus act. There's no longer
Joe Weider, he promoted that. He sat back and watched these slaves. That's what he did. And he made money off of them.
Art, there's no longer a beauty, there's no longer health. It has just become a freak show, a circus act, and a death cult. And it's very, very sad to see from what it was at one time into what it has become. And even a lot of the greatest of all times are calling it out more. They're calling it out. Arnold, Lee Haney, all these people are saying, yeah, this isn't good.
Yeah, this isn't good, dude. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you in the next video, friends. Tell what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Lee Haney's calling all this out. Lee Haney was a drug addict himself.